It's on now. We'll get a call the meeting to order. Roll call, it looks like Dave's not here, and Deb both should be on the way.
Dave did talk to me, and there would be other commitment. He said he would try to get here, wasn't sure. Did not hear from Deb, so I'm assuming she will be here.
Okay. And no additions to the agenda that I'm aware of. Wait a minute, I might have you.
No, we did not have any additions to the agenda. I have a few things that I'll talk about that I may add to the next agenda, but we're not going to. There's no additions to this one.
Okay, have a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Is that Bruce and Cheryl? Oh, Calvin. Okay.
Pass one.
Yeah, I can't distinguish from all the
Next, we have approval to correct the minutes from the October 8, 2013 regular meeting. Do we have an approval?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then we'll move down to the financial reports. September 2013 treasury reports. Are there any questions? Anything?
No, I don't have anything to add to it that I haven't added before. We still have one negative piece, but we just need to break the capital into different groups, and that just hasn't been done yet, so. And I think I had one question before about our flex plan and the dollars, and that's really caused by the dollars that we collect from the employees, which goes out to the organization that runs our flex plan, and then they pay out to the employees, so.
Okay, can we have a motion to approve the September treasury report?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And now we have the September 2013 monthly balance sheet.
That was with the financial reports.
Excuse me?
That was with the financial
It was,
reports.
okay. Next, we have the audit approval bills, additional September 2013 bills.
I had the opportunity just a little bit ago to go through the bills, the additional September bills and the October bills. Didn't see anything out of the norm for this time of the year, so I make a recommendation to approve the bills as written.
Have a second? Do you have a second? Nobody wants a second? Very good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the October 2013 bills?
Who was it?
That was with it, okay.
I distracted them. Who was the second on that?
Bruce. Bruce was the second. Next, we have review and consider approval of the following winter sports assignment with understanding that these assignments may be adjusted due to participation numbers.
Yeah, the one question is that we have, sometimes it depends on the numbers whether we fill a position or not. Example would be, I believe, junior high open position. If we get enough, we'll fill that position. If we don't get enough, then we won't fill that position. I also did add the head coaches for both boys and girls. Those have already been approved, but I thought it'd be nice to have them all on the same piece at the same time.
We have a couple of new hires here also, correct?
That's correct. Well, all of them technically are, it's a one-year piece, so all of them are being re-brought back. But yes, the two hires would be 9th grade Bill Carlson and John, I believe, Keeper.
Who's the other one?
This would be the junior high, Bill Carlson is
Yeah,
one
I
in
got that.
9th grade, and then John, I believe.
Also the assistant.
Oh, Jeff, I'm sorry, that it was the assistant, it was Jeff. So the two new hires would be Bill Carlson, 9th grade, and Jeff Swatsky as the assistant.
Were there other applicants for those positions?
We had 2 applicants for those 2 positions.
And they were deemed appropriate and capable of?
They were. The committee met, they discussed it, the head basketball coach was part of that committee, and so was Max. And yes, after interviewing them both, they both felt that were both appropriate for those positions.
Thank you.
Do you often have like the girls program where we don't have the 9th graders yet? You kind of just wait
Well,
to see who signs up
Yeah,
or
they
something?
rotate between those for seasons, so sometimes, because one season gets done earlier for some of the boys and girls sports, basketball, so.
But there's not a 9th grade girls that are gonna get left out if there's.
Oh, no, they
kids.
would
We're gonna figure it out.
put them on the team one way or another.
Okay.
We would not cancel the season because we had a few numbers, we'd find a way to incorporate it somehow.
I'll make a motion, we accept that, the assignments.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we move on to the business. Review and consider approval of the 2012-13 annual report on curriculum, instruction, and student achievement. I think that's,
When we look at this curriculum report, there's a lot of that in there that is very general goals and all that. Remember, we have talked about our long-range plan?
Yep.
So it would be documents like this we would take to create our long-term, long-range
The
plan.
district strategic plan, yes.
Yeah, so we have a method to achieve
Yeah.
some of that.
I think there's a number of other things that we'll look at in addition to that when we do that.
Mhm. Is it a little bit of a copy and paste?
It is, because not a lot changes overall in what they're doing every year. Any additions are added to it, otherwise you keep the same things that are working, you would eliminate things that aren't working.
Mhm. And like we were presented in the reading program, where we fell off a little bit, everybody in the state fell off, from my
Well,
understanding.
it was a new test.
So,
You can't compare the old test to the new test, the rigor was much higher. The actual drop in the state was approximately 20% by virtually everyone. And, that's what they predicted, and it stayed pretty close to what they predicted. When we start to look at the same test now next year, at the same time, we really didn't have a good feel for what the changes to that test were going to be. In fact, they sent out a nice little article or piece of information on it that kind of gave us the breakdown of the test. If we would have had that maybe before the test, it would have helped us.
mhm.
But they didn't produce it until June. So we believe we'll increase those scores for next year.
But from what I read, we are not losing any ground and we're holding our own compared to those around us.
No, as
everywhere.
Don had showed, we're doing very well for
Yep.
the area, and we're above the state average virtually every place. Now, I can't say everyone, because there are a couple grade levels and a couple tests that we have some work, but we're aware that we need to, unless everybody's proficient in those state tests. And even if, really, if they're not, if every one of our students is not exceeding in those state tests, then we still have a lot of work to do.
Mhm.
And we still have a lot of work to do.
I'll make a motion that we approve the curriculum.
we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, well, now we're down to personnel.
The next 5 items really are items that we do every year as far as approval of the lists. The staff have had those lists for the required amount of time. If there was any issues with those lists, they would have gotten back to us.
There've been no
Or should have
challenges.
gotten them. There were none.
Do we have
I'm
to,
aware of no challenges, no.
do we have to have a motion on every one, or can we approve 1 through 5 all at the same time?
I would probably, because they are separate lists, I'd probably go through and just give each one a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the seniority list for certified staff.
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Make a
Number
motion,
2,
make a motion that we approve the seniority list for custodial staff.
I'll second it.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
I move we approve the seniority list for the maintenance staff.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
I move we approve the seniority list for the food service staff.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Number 5 is the date of hire document.
Yeah, that's really the pairs piece that corresponds to that.
But it looked like the same thing.
It is exactly the same type of thing, it's only for the pairs, their contract reads differently. That's why it's listed that way.
But it is different.
Pardon me?
But it is different.
It is different, that's correct. It's the parents document that virtually says the same thing as far as how you bring somebody in and how you would take somebody out if we were to reduce the number of pairs that we need.
I move we approve the date of hire document for the paraprofessionals.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Move on to number 6, review and consider approval of resignation request from Arlene Welly, special education
I do have one change to that, she is a Title I parent.
Oh,
So if you would change, we'll correspond with the minutes.
Title I, effective November 1st, 2013. Have a motion to approve?
I make that motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Review and consider approval of Jackie Gruber, special education paraprofessional, effective October 25th, 2013.
Just a little bit of information on that. These two next positions are tied a little bit. One of them is just replacement from a resignation. But one of them is we do have another new special ed student who requires some additional assistance. And it's kind of broken up, if you look at the addendum, it's just broken up between, those two positions are broken between both people. So just be aware of that.
I'll make a motion that we approve Jackie Gruber, special education paraprofessional, effective October 25th.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
I move we approve Amy Ruffey, special education paraprofessional, effective October 25th, 2013.
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Informational reports, administration report.
Just a little bit of information. Negotiations, we're still continuing. I finally, the bus company and I have finally gotten hold of each other. We can set up a meeting tomorrow to go over the contract that we had looked at, and the negotiation team of board members have kind of agreed to. I retyped the contract to make sure that the changes are there. The bus company and I will go over those changes tomorrow. When he comes in, once those are done, I will be sending that information out to the negotiation team. If they look like that's what we agreed to and are sure of that, then we will be bringing it to the board at the next meeting. We've been playing a little bit of phone tag, and he's not been available when I've been available, so but finally tomorrow we will need to have a discussion about that.
What time are you meeting, Bob?
I think, check, it's in the morning. We're meeting at 8:30 tomorrow morning. And we're meeting this week with our food service and our paraprofessionals. Teachers are set up for another meeting in November. So we're moving along.
We have one Wednesday, isn't that correct?
We have two on Wednesday. The paraprofessionals on Wednesday and food custodians. So paraprofessionals and custodians, both of those are on Wednesday. Just be aware that we're going to be going out for bids for the storm shelter piece of the stadium project. Looks like if we get our timing right, the bids will close around November 13th, someplace in there. I am going to bring to the board at one of the, probably at the next meeting, just a discussion about not necessarily having to post in the paper. It's not bad. It does cost us a little bit of money, not as much as you would think. So I'm not against posting the paper, but for instance, we're in a hurry to get this particular piece started. with the stadium. We're finally ready to bid it, but I have to post in the paper, which means I can't post till next week, then I have to wait 2 weeks from now. Okay, so it's just a time thing. Whereas, and we could do it in some districts, and you can make a resolution, the board can make a resolution to post it to the website. All right, so we'd be able to just post to the website, and we'd be able to start right away. We can't, even if the board agrees to that resolution, we still need to post in the paper at least for 6 months after the board passes that resolution. But I am going to bring that back to the board to have that discussion on whether they'd be willing to have things posted to the website. For this bid, we're going to post it to the website regardless. I need to post it to the paper. We'll put that in for next Wednesday's paper. But we're also going to start posting to the website. But when you make the resolution, the website becomes our primary source of posting any of those type of bidding type of things. So just be aware that I'm going to come back to the board and at least have the discussion on whether we want to do that. That does not mean, even if the board approves that type of resolution, doesn't mean we can't still put it in the paper. But it does allow us to get the bids out faster if we need to. So you can think about it, get a hold of me, ask me any questions that you want now or later if it comes to you, and we'll just bring it to a board agenda and we'll just have some discussion and the board can decide whether they want to do that or not. So there'd be a cost savings, but more importantly to me, would be the time savings that it can do for us.
And I'm assuming it's all legal.
Yes, yeah, and I'll send the board and I'll bring to the next board meeting the state statute that says that you can do it, but the board has to pass a resolution to do it. And you still need to publish in the paper for 6 months after the resolution is passed, before you couldn't do it anyway. So even if you pass the resolution, we'd have to wait 6 months before we just post it to the website.
Would that resolution include everybody, or can it be on a specific project?
I think primarily the big projects, I think we're looking at some, some you have to kind of let the people know, our milk and our stuff, you gotta let those people know that there is a bid out there. So, but truly, once you pass a resolution, that becomes the primary source. So people should be checking the website on a regular basis to make sure that a bid isn't coming out. But usually the word gets out. There's people who know that we're going to be doing the storm shelter. They're looking for the bid. We're trying to let those people know that we're going to bid. We're trying to let them know in person too that the bid is out. But for this case, we'll be publishing it in the paper. We'll also put it on the website. Most likely it'll be the 17th if the timing looks right. Or I should say 17th, the 13th. Along with the bid, there's a mandatory meeting with the architects to make sure that they get any of their questions answered before the closing of the bid. So once I complete the bid information, I'll send it to all the board members so you can take a look at it. But we're going to get that posted, so there's a chance that we can possibly get the footings at least in the ground. If that can happen before freeze up, then the precast could be put in anytime. Doesn't make any difference on that. So if we can get it done, that'd be great. If we can't, then we're just going to have to wait till spring. Any questions on any of that? Okay. Have some playoffs coming up. First playoff football game tonight at home. First volleyball playoff game is Friday, I think, at Dassel. And I think sections, and I don't know where that's at, I didn't ask that question, is Thursday for cross country, so that will determine the individual teams that will go for that. Talked with a few board members. I'm going to be setting up another policy committee meeting. There's more things that we need to do along that, so that'll be coming up. Met with a teachers group today. We're talking about the new teacher evaluation mandates. So we're meeting on a regular basis. Next meeting is in November, start of November, I think, November 7th. We're just having the discussions to make sure that everything that we're doing, in fact, quite a bit of the things that we're already doing, meet the mandate. There's just a couple pieces in there that we're going to have to adjust so that we meet all the mandates. And as that shakes out, I'll bring it to the board and we'll have a discussion at the board. But right now, it's just the teachers and administration talking about what we can do to bring everything in alignment. Had a meeting today also about the new healthcare legislation that continues to be in ever-changing story. So we're trying to keep as close of a tab as we can. There's another training, I think, next week, Linda, that we're sending some of the office staff to also, so that we can keep as up to date on it as we can, because some of the consequences, if you're not up to date doing what you're supposed to do, can cost the district some pretty big dollars. Next week, just so you're aware, Al will be coming in with the audit for the 2012-13 year. So he'll be coming at the first meeting in November for that. Recommissioning, we just set up the meeting with that. It's going to be Friday, October 25th at 1:30 to 2:30. So it's just kind of the kickoff meeting for the recommissioning. We truly have been waiting as much as anything because weather needed to get cold enough so we could have our boilers and stuff started up. One thing that was brought to my attention today, and I think it's a good thing for at least the board to think about. Last year, if you remember, when we had our students come out, we were very rushed when they did their presentation. You remember, we didn't have a lot of time, you didn't get a chance to ask a lot of questions. So I'm wondering, right now we have the board meeting set at 2 o'clock that day. I think it's December 17th. Wondering if the board wouldn't want to consider moving that up to maybe even 1 o'clock. That would give the board much more of a chance to hear students and also ask them questions.
It's a good idea.
I think it'd be good.
Yeah.
Is there any reason that we shouldn't post that?
I can't think of any.
Okay, then what we'll do, Linda, if we could, we'll repost that meeting for 1 o'clock on, I think it's December 17th. We'll repost that and get it changed. I think the board will enjoy that. The students have a lot of wisdom.
They're always fun.
Yep. So I think, at least at this point, I think that is all I have.
Did you attend a training meeting in the city hall?
Oh, yes, I did. I forgot to add that on there. Attended the active shooter training last week. Myself, my 2 principals, and Donnie attended that meeting. Very interesting. You know, I think a lot of what we've already said is very true. The discussions that we had in the safety committee meeting are pretty accurate. You know, it's unfortunate that no matter what precautions you have, and the latest unfortunate tragedy of the shooting wasn't in the building. It was outside the building. So unless you're going to lock everybody into a building all day long, barricade all the windows, you know, I don't know how you can stop somebody from doing harm when they're intent to do harm. But we certainly want to have that discussion at the elementary. We've added one more key fob to let people in so that all the doors are locked now. And teachers have access to it coming in from recess. Certainly we're still having some discussion about cameras, and I still need to put a survey together to the community to at least get their feeling on safety precautions and those types of things, so that has not been forgotten.
So right now, you're saying that the elementary is locked besides the...
The elementary, all the doors are locked except for the front door. And really, most of the experts are saying what should really happen is you should have a path straight into the main office. So you really, a buzzing system into the main office, and then a buzzing system from the main office into the school itself. You know, that's what the last experts that I've listened to, either on a webinar or even at the active shooter piece, have said. And there are schools that have actually changed their entrances.
Yeah,
So
you have
that-
to reconstruct that whole front.
You do,
Yeah.
that's correct. You'd have to reconstruct it so that they come into the main office first and then go out from there.
Where are we at with like identifications and stuff like that? I know that whenever somebody comes into the into the office or in the school building, they need to go and report to the office and get your visitor tag. But how about for staff? Because that's also kind of a...
Now, one of the things, and I wanted my teachers to talk with their staff first, is that we've been waiting for
Lanyards?
our lanyards.
Yeah.
They just came in. I know my principal will be talking to the staff about wearing
Yeah.
these.
Because if you have an incident, you won't know, whoever's coming in to
Well,
help won't know who's who.
We also, the people who take our pictures, part of the deal was that they have provided us with a piece of machinery that will make these ID badges. So I think we're having a discussion with the administration right now about what badges we want to make. I mean, we have the ability now, to even if there was a walker in the building, and they went through community ed and they did it, and they're walking in the building, we could actually take the picture, personalize their badge so that the picture's on it with, community walker or whatever we wanted to have on there. So,
Show like that.
I didn't put anything in front of that walker, so keep that in mind.
We call them the walkers.
So I think we need to continue to look at all of those particular pieces, but I know that the next piece that we're gonna be talking to our staff about is everybody wearing an ID badge. I just think that makes sure that everybody knows that they're working there. And also, we need to be asking anybody that comes into those buildings that does not have a proper ID to help them, to ask them, and to direct them to the office so that they have a proper ID. There are pieces of hardware and software out there that you come in, you scan your actual driver's license, it scans it, notes when you're coming in, and keeps track of all of that thing. So we're also looking at costs of all those things, but my nicest technology is it all costs money. So, but we are starting to look at that, getting costs for those types of things, because there's certainly some benefits to that type of thing. If they come in, scan a driver's license, you know that they've come in, you know who they are, and it's easier for us to track down if they actually have business in the building. That's all I have, unless the board has other questions.
Any other sharing from the board? Or
I got a couple of things, if you don't mind. The audit reports that we're getting next week, or next meeting, how early do we get those? In our packets, or is it something we get in advance of that? It's a pretty big report.
Yeah, if I get them early, I will send them out. We'll need to have some for the community to take a look at also. They are a big packet. I don't want to make any more than I have to. But if we get them early, we can send them out to the board.
And those our school numbers are up too?
They go up and down.
So
To say my enrollment is, I'm happy with it would be not accurate.
it's not moving around a lot.
We
so we're
appear
trying to get an
to
average.
have stabilized where we're at. It's just much lower than I wanted.
And then I do have one more thing, I don't mean to keep everybody, but when we get the financial reports, and I didn't bring it up during that part of it, it always tells us the percentage of dollars that are spent. On the last day of June, we book 2 months of instructor salaries for July and August. Okay, so up until that time, it always looks like on the percentages, we are not on budget, okay? But on the last day or thereabouts, we book that. Is it possible to get us a number of what we're gonna book on June 30th, so that we have an idea what it is? And here's if you take the amount of general fund that we've expended so far, it's 11%. But in that number, when we start looking at the total number, those will only get up to probably 80%, something like that, and we're sitting in June. So logically, from the public sides, and including mine, it's like, we don't really have much of a budget issue going on here.
Well, right.
Because there's that dollar,
Well, there
it's
is.
a $500,000.
Because by contract and the way that we pay our teaching staff is that they get paid in the summer months.
And that's fine. Is that fine? But it's going into this year's budget. And we know that it's coming. It's not a surprise. It's all there. But what is that number so that we could take and look at our expenses and just put in there that $500,000, 600,000, 700,000, whatever that number is, and it would, maybe just to know, that it's just personal.
No.
Because as far as I'm concerned, when we don't book that amount of money, when I start looking at the percentages and all that, doesn't really mean anything to me.
I should be able to get your ballpark figure on that. I
Okay.
don't know if I can get to the exact.
Get it close, because we know that
We
it's
just
gonna change
need
a
to-
little bit, but it's not like, at least
Well,
we're
we can get
close.
your ballpark figure fairly quick, it's just that not everybody takes some of those at different rates. It's not like everybody's doing exactly the same thing with all of our teaching staff, so that's, it's easy to get, if everybody's doing the same thing, it's very easy for me to get you that. If they're not doing the same thing, then I need to figure out who they are.
Well, the one thing I did notice that we ended last year, when I looked at the budget for instructors and all that, the budget was right on. So it doesn't look like it would be too scary to get that number.
No,
And maybe, it doesn't, maybe don't incorporate it in all of this stuff. I did call them in as, our school board association, they said all the schools do this, but man, these percentages just don't look illogically. You would think that when we're in June, we should be around 92% of our expenses instead of being 10, 12%.
there are times I wish we could run much more like a business. I think that it would make a lot more sense in a lot of ways, but,
But that's no different than some of your capital too. Your capital, we're at 40%, which isn't quite either. So it's just kind of perspective of what, you know, at the end of the year, you still want to be, and that's where the projections are, where we need to be at the end of the year. And kind of some of this is, yeah, you need to look at and see if we're, you know, over budget, but some of this year, unless if you really dive into it, you don't know if you're over budget or under budget until you really dive into it, because like I said, with the capital expenditures, by 40% at this time of the year, we are well over budget.
Yeah.
But we're not.
Well, no.
because we do most of our expending at this time of the year.
at the
Yeah.
because we've already had the 5-year plan put in place, we already know what those expenditures are.
Right, but what I guess what I'm getting at is at the end of, you know, by the time you really get into it, you'll find out that the salaries, like for an example, the salaries, these are some of the quirks about it, because some of the staff take it and some might not. So how true are you? And not until maybe third quarter, maybe we could probably do an adjustment and have that more exact.
I think it's just a reference, but I kind of suspect when I look at the school population of students here, and from where we came, and I look at the amount of dollars the state gives us per student, we have some interesting things coming down the
Yeah.
pike.
Part of one of the things that we still have difficulty projecting is the special ed piece of this. We just, you know, and whenever I see one of those numbers, I just am not sure whether I can believe it or not, because those numbers can change so quickly, and they've been known to say, well, we're giving you this, and then you don't end up getting that. Or they even come back a year afterwards and hold dollars. So that, the special ed piece is the one that I find the toughest to figure out what we're gonna get and what we're not gonna get, because they change it.
If there are no more discussions or questions, we are adjourned at July 35.